There is a word the home building industry uses when it wants to sound responsible. That word is efficiency. And somewhere between the 1980s and today, efficiency became the reason your walls are rotting right now, silently, completely invisibly, while your exterior looks immaculate and your home's Zillow estimate holds steady. It is about a system of deliberate choices, materials selected, details skipped, timelines calculated that turned your walls into a slow rot chamber, while the exterior stayed immaculate. This is the stucco scam, and it was never designed to protect the person who bought the home. It was designed to protect the person who built it. Let's start with something that will reframe everything you think you know about your home's exterior. Stucco is not waterproofing. It never was. The people who designed the stucco wall system knew this. The engineers who specified it knew this. The builders who installed it knew this. Stucco is a porous cement material that absorbs water like a slow sponge during every rainstorm, and then releases it, but only if the system behind it was built correctly. And that word correctly is where everything quietly falls apart. A properly built stucco wall is actually a layered drainage system. Behind the stucco face, there is supposed to be a 3/8 inch air gap, a breathing lane between the stucco and the sheathing underneath. That gap has one job: let water drain down and out. At the very base of the wall, a perforated metal strip called a weep screed provides the exit point, the drain at the bottom of everything. And sealing the whole assembly against bulk water intrusion is a water-resistant barrier, a membrane that, when installed with overlapping layers like shingles on a roof, directs any moisture that gets through safely downward and away from the wood. That is the system as it was designed. Now here's the system as it is actually built. The air gap gets skipped. The weep screed gets buried under landscaping. Thus, water-resistant barrier goes in as a single layer instead of two. And the kick-out flashing, a piece of metal under $10, required by building code since the year 2000, whose only job is to divert roof water away from the wall, is absent on new construction homes across this country, with a frequency that cannot be explained by oversight. The same builders, the same missing components. Subdivision after subdivision, year after year. At some point, you have to stop calling it a mistake and start calling it what it is. One missing piece of metal, a piece that costs under $10, and your roof is now funneling every rainstorm directly behind your exterior cladding. Here is what that water finds when it arrives. Starting sometime in the late 1970s, the American home building industry made a quiet material substitution that has never been fully reckoned with. Plywood, the structural sheathing material that had framed American homes for decades, got replaced. What replaced it is called Oriented Strand Board, OSB, and the reason it replaced plywood had nothing to do with performance and everything to do with one calculated number. OSB saves the builder $700 per home. Multiply that across a 200-home subdivision, and you have $140,000 in pure margin improvement per development. And a sheathing material that, when moisture gets trapped behind it, will silently degrade for 7 to 10 years before showing a single visible symptom on the surface. That window is not a coincidence. That window is the warranty period. What the board does not discuss is what OSB actually is. It is compressed wood strands, chips, shavings, industrial wood fiber, bonded with resin under heat and pressure. It is engineered to be structurally consistent and cheap to produce, and under dry conditions it performs. The problem is that no wall stays perfectly dry for 30 years. The problem is what happens the first time that sheathing gets wet and cannot dry out. When moisture reaches OSB and has nowhere to go, the wood strands absorb it and expand, not by a small amount. Research documents OSB swelling by 19 to 28% in thickness when saturated. For comparison, plywood under the same conditions swells by 3 to 6% and returns to its original dimension when it dries. OSB does neither. The swollen edges stay swollen. The fiber structure permanently deforms. And once the moisture content inside that panel exceeds 19 to 20%, something else begins. Fungi arrive, not from outside. They were already there, dormant in the wood fibers, waiting for exactly these conditions. The wall cavity has now become a closed biological system, and this is where the second design decision compounds everything. Because modern homes are not just built with inferior sheathing, they are also wrapped in airtight plastic membranes designed to maximize energy efficiency. Spray foam insulation, vapor barriers on both sides of the wall cavity. Synthetic house wrap is so tightly sealed that the wall assembly has almost completely lost what building scientists call its drying potential. Older homes leaked, they breathed. That inefficiency was actually a safety mechanism. It let moisture escape before it accumulated. Newer homes, built to meet energy codes and sold as premium product at premium price, have eliminated that escape route, and in doing so created the second condition the wall system needs to fail on schedule. Up to 90% of moisture intrusion in stucco wall systems enters at one location, around windows and doors, not through the stucco face, around the openings, where the caulk cracks, where the flashing was installed backward, a defect so common it has a name, reverse flashing, where the lapped layers direct water into the wall instead of away from it, where a single improperly sealed exterior light fixture or electrical outlet becomes a direct highway for water to reach structural framing. Inspectors have documented cases where one poorly sealed outlet caused tens of thousands of dollars in damage to the wall cavity it penetrated. Predictable enough, in fact, that the people who built your home could have told you exactly how it ends, because the materials they selected made the outcome a matter of physics, not chance. In the first few years, nothing. The exterior looks pristine, the stucco is tight, the paint is fresh. Inside the wall, the OSB is holding moisture it will never release, and the fungal colonies are in early stage growth. Between years 5 and 8, the wood framing studs begin to soften. The mold advances. Stachybotrys, black mold, arrives as a tertiary colonizer after penicillium and cladosporium have already established. The mycotoxins these organisms release are neurotoxic, immunotoxic, and in peer-reviewed research, carcinogenic. The child with the respiratory illness no pediatrician can explain. The adult whose sinus congestion no antibiotic touches. These are not coincidences, these are documented outcomes of a wall that has been running its biological program on schedule. By year 10, the OSB is wet cardboard. The structural skeleton has composted, the warranty expires, the LLC dissolves, and the stucco cracks. Toll Brothers, KB Home, D.R. Horton. Named defendants across hundreds of millions in settlements, paying out on the surface while the framing stays unreimbursed. That is not the architecture of negligence. That is the architecture of a system that was working exactly as intended. Visible damage after the liability window, settlements covering the surface but not the structure, and the LLC that built your home dissolved before you noticed the smell. Walk the perimeter of your home. You are looking for 5 things. Go to every point where your roof slope meets a vertical exterior wall. There should be a small metal piece, kick-out flashing, diverting water into the gutter channel. If it is not there, water has been entering that wall junction at volume since the day the roof went on. Run your finger along the caulk line, when you find at the bottom sill of every window. Cracked, separated, or missing caulk is a direct water entry point into the wall cavity. Press your thumb firmly along the bottom 12 to 18 inches of your stucco exterior. Anywhere it flexes, gives, or feels soft to pressure, the OSB behind it has already begun to structurally degrade. Look at the very base of your stucco wall where it meets the foundation. There should be a perforated metal strip, the weep screed. If it is buried in mulch or soil, your drainage system has been blocked since installation. Go inside. Stand in any room with an exterior wall. Closets on exterior walls are especially useful. Breathe. A persistent musty smell that does not respond to cleaning is MVOC, the chemical exhaust of active mold colonies in the wall cavity. If you smell it, you have been breathing it. Professional moisture testing costs between $500 and $1,600 depending on home size. Full remediation on a severely affected home can reach $100,000. The inspection versus the repair is not a close comparison.